What's up guys, Mudhooks here. I'm going to try to answer the question short bow versus long bow. You always get this question when people are going for a burst spec. They always say, hey, should I go short bow or long bow? And you get a lot of varied answers. You get answers that are saying, oh, short bow is the same as the long bow. You might as well just go whatever. You get the long bow's better. So I went crit damage. My basic kind of build that I usually use. As you see here, I built into the extra 5% damage for the longbow. So the longbow is actually getting a little bit of an advantage here, but if you're building in for longbow, you're going to spec for that anyway, so you might as well throw it in for it. So here we are at close range, just doing auto attacks. Obviously, you're not just using auto attacks with the longbow, but just to show you when you're out of your abilities and you have to kite around with the longbow, this is what you're dealing with. The reason I'm at short range testing is because most of the time in PvP, you're not going to find yourself being able to stay at long range. So just for this sake, I'm using the long distance. And as you can see, it's 18.49 seconds, which is pretty terrible. So switching to the short bow and not stacking any conditions, we're going face on, so we're not getting any advantage from those conditions. We're going to see a lot faster DPS just using direct damage with the short bow, 11.85 seconds. It's a major improvement at close range. So if you're using the long bow at close range and you're just on your auto attacks, you're not going to find yourself doing too much damage. But you're not going to do that. You're going to use that vulnerability and you're going to use your 2 ability. And what we see here is that it's still not enough damage because you revert back to that very slow cast time DPS. So you have 13.82 seconds. We're still getting better direct damage out of our short bow. Here we have some range just to show you. But that's important information because what we know is using the vulnerability and the 2 ability and then defaulting to your auto attack, you're not doing as much direct damage as the short bow. So the short bow does a ton of damage. But if you can get at range, as we saw there, then you do get a lot more damage. It's unlikely that you're going to get that range on somebody, especially a melee class, because they're going to be on you like glue. Using all of the burst abilities with the longbow, we get 7.37 seconds to get him down, and that's the fastest. That's the best burst you can get. So I won't be able to beat that with any combination that I find. And by the way, these are all been tested thoroughly. I did all of these tests about 20 times with each weapon, so these are pretty close to the mean medians that I found. Using this longbow here, you're going to have the number 5 ability, and you open up with that. You won't be able to all the time, but you want to open up with that, then switch to the vulnerability, and then use your number 2 ability, and that's going to be the biggest burst out of all of these weapons that you're going to find. The short bow is a lot better for closer range and tight situations, a lot of situations that you're going to find yourself in. So you have the 3 ability on the short bow, which is a 7-second dodge. So that cooldown is pretty good. It's up there with your endurance regeneration. Here I am just kind of putting myself in a situation you might find you're going to open up on somebody and then somebody's going to close in on you, so you want to switch to that short bow to get that better damage once they're at short range. And that's what I'm going to use throughout here on the chieftain. So open up, going to use the 5, then the vulnerability, and then the 2 ability. And then once I'm just using auto attacks there, because that 5 ability is a 24-second cooldown, you can only use it once in a blue moon, switch directly to the short bow and get the max DPS out of these 2 weapons that you can. As we can see, the short bow, the attacks are really fast, so when you're kiting around, you don't really worry about when you dodge versus the longbow, because it's a cast time. So if you dodge in the middle of the longbow's cast time, it's going to take over a second just to get another hit on them. And if you're continuously dodging, it could take up to 3 seconds. But you don't have to worry about that with the short bows. So since these direct damages are very, very close, and the short bow's direct damage is not very intuitive and doesn't rely on cast times, it's good to switch to. As we see here, I tried kind of kiting with the longbow and found myself getting in trouble, so immediately switched to that short bow and it helped me out a lot. The thing with the short bow is that it's really built for kiting. It has the 5 ability, which is a stun and a daze, block them out of their abilities, And then you have the next ability, the fourth ability, which is a cripple, and it's an automatic hit, no cast time. And then you have that 3 ability, which I was talking about, which gets you away from them and gives you a little swiftness to keep on kiting. The longbow has that knockback, and that thing's amazing. Gets you out of a lot of sticky situations, but the thing is, it's on a 12-second cooldown, unlike that 7-second cooldown that we were talking about for the short bow. So you can only use it so often, and like I said, the 2 and the 3 ability is not enough DPS at close range to make up for the short bow's DPS. So if you really want to maximize your close range attacks, then you want to go with the short bow. But as we also saw, on the other hand, is if you want to maximize your burst and just be a sniper from above, then obviously the longbow is going to be your ideal choice. But I hope I answered your questions. If I didn't, go ahead and leave something in the comments below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching, guys.